Osibajo. Today on the program, Peter Obi Diaspora Group reject presidential election petitions court judgment. And later on the show of Borno Abubakar Ibn Umar Gabai urges Vice President Kashim Shettima to use his office to salvage 2 local government areas from the grip of remnant of Boko Haram insurgents. I'll be hanging out with Oladipo and Emeka Madunagu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. The master himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, will be joining us all the way from Maiduguri in Borno State. Now, Ondo State, southwest Nigeria, is agog with the return of the governor from medical leave abroad. Residents and politicians have continued to express joy over the return of Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu after 3 months' absence. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, led influx of goodwill messages for Governor Akeredolu. The governor has sent a letter to the State House of Assembly officially informing the lawmakers of his return and resumption to duty. Let's share the story with you. From TVC News, Ayodij Radio.
For 3 months, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu was in Germany for medical leave. Governor Akeredolu embarked on the leave after transferring power to his deputy, Lucky Ayedatiwa, via a letter to the State House of Assembly on the 4th of June, in line with constitutional provision. On the 7th of September, the governor returned to Nigeria and met with aides and members of the State House of Assembly on Friday, 8th of September in Ibadan. At the meeting, he announced his official resumption. His return has continued to attract reactions from residents of the state and those in government who describe his recovery as defined.
I'm very, very happy. I know millions of Ondo State people and even Nigerians are happy that our Arakun is back. Not just back, he's back and better. We give thanks to Almighty God. We glorify his name for this grace, uncommon one.
You see, it's not everybody that will have this kind of challenge that will bounce back. So it's a manifestation of uncommon miracle, you understand? And it shows that Mr. Governor has been serving God meritoriously.
Makes him not only in the area of providing infrastructure or even the social contract is signed with the people of Ondo State, but for the fact that we miss his leadership. Arakun Akeredolu is someone that speaks truth to power. It's a voice in the national polity.
Some urged him to swing into action and intensify efforts to complete ongoing projects and initiate new ones.
I expect the government to continue. Ijoka Road is under construction. Oda Road, the same thing. Then there are some projects which I like Oga to complete before he's going, like court premises.
When you visit the MDAs, the ministries, departments and agencies, you feel that the governor is not in the town. You feel it because the way the people even handle the assignment of the state, you can compare to when they know that there is the set man around who will supervise whatever they do, be it the commissioner or even civil servant.
The people are delighted with the governor's return and are hopeful that he will complete his mandate. Ayodeji Morade, your TVC News, Akure.
Arakuni Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, he has been battling with his health for some time now, and a lot of people, when he left for that medical emergency and wrote to the State House of Assembly that he was stepping down, that he was going to allow his deputy to perform the function and everything. I was discouraged a little bit. I felt that, man, this might be the, very uncertain. But then, coming back now, he told the House of Assembly that he's ready to resume work immediately, and he's back.
I'm really happy for him. quite happy. And what he did when he left was actually the right thing to do. But for some of us, we saw it as formality. Formality in the sense that we know that in every state, the governor is all in all.
De facto.
Is the de facto head. And in most cases, even when a governor or the president is away, in most cases, not in all cases, he's still the one who dictates what happened, or the person he trusts. Sometimes it could be the wife. Sometimes it could be
The secretary.
somebody who is even way junior than the deputy governor that will be completely in charge, or his son sometimes. So it depends. In some states in the past, we've heard of governors who were not available and their wives were the ones who took decisions, not even the deputy governor, not the SSG. So, but I'm happy he's back. And one thing is certain. What will be the focus now going forward will be the next governorship election in the states. But on a note of caution, I'll say to the governor, if he needs more rest, nothing stops him from taking a bow. And
Let me pick it from there.
Yeah.
That if he needs more rest, a lot of people will say, look, my own life is more precious than that position or any position I'm occupying. So if I need to salvage anything, and so that the pressure of governance and everything will not complicate things for him. Some people are of the opinion that it's not a do or die thing. Why don't you just take a bow?
You see, that's the interesting thing. Globally, people are expected to, people in public offices are expected to be, to put themselves on a high pedestal so that people can look up to them. But the unfortunate thing in Nigeria is that it's actually a do or die for Nigerian politicians. You would expect that Akeredolu, senior advocate of Nigeria, would look at the law. Also look at what it costs the people of Ondo State to treat him, what it costs them to have to bear his absence from time to time, not just these 3 months. Anytime maybe he's unable to discharge his functions, in full bodily form, what it costs the people. But you see, people will tell you that, oh, is this right? Is this? But you have to look at the legality of the law and the morality. The fact of the matter is that if actually he knows the state of his health, between himself and his doctor, they know what the state of his health is. But if it has got to a point where he just has to take a bow, I think there might be the temptation to say, okay, what about the former President Buhari? He was in the UK for 103 days. What about this? What about that? There's a tendency to quote, after all, there was a former governor of Taraba State, Nababa Suntai, who was there. It's very easy to quote all of these things. But at the end, you must ask yourself a question. Are you serving the interests of the people of Ondo State and the people of Nigeria in the best form? It's up to him to answer. But if he knows that, well, he can still soldier on one way or the other, well, I wish him all the best. I congratulate him on his recovery. But I must say that Nigerian politicians cannot continue to subject the people to such avoidable pain because it costs money. Where a mandate was handed over to you, and the people's mandate is not something to joke with. It's priceless. You cannot put a price on it. So definitely, if they feel they can trust you and not your opponents to run the state, then you must be in a full state of health to discharge those responsibilities. Otherwise, you step out. We should not always allow the Nigerian factor to dictate the way we do things. International best practices dictate that if there is a problem and it's such that the governor may need to be away from time to time, or he knows that he may not fully discharge his functions, it would only be in the best interest of the state, of himself, and the people of Nigeria for him to bow out.
Babajide, if you're there, there is a tendency that people will now sit tight, and the father figure, the man in charge, is around, that commissioners, even State House of Assembly, and civil servants, that there's a way they will react to this kind of development, that Ogbeni Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, after 3 months, is back, and this will spur up things in Ondo State.
This has made many people happy because the governor has really done well, both politically for his party and in terms of his infrastructure delivery, is done very well. In terms of security, no governor in the whole of Southwest has done what Akeredolu has done, because the Ondo State is the gateway to the Southwest. If not for the efforts of Amotekun, the Southwest would easily have been overrun. He took the Amotekun project on his head, he fought vigorously, and Amotekun in Ondo State is already a national symbol of the possibility of community policing succeeding on a big scale. I was the moderator on one of the sessions on security during the NBA conference. And the Amotekun commander was the Senosio of Ice. People were clapping for, people were hailing him based on the success story of Amotekun. I never believed that in Abuja, that man would be treated like a big hero the way he was treated. You know, in a gathering of generals, a gathering of so many soldiers, he was hailed for the success of Amotekun. And who made Amotekun possible is Akeredolu. Even when some of the Southwest leaders were playing politics with him, were vacillating, it was Akeredolu especially who pushed hard. Today, the Southwest is the safest geopolitical zone in our country. That is the only zone that the Americans, when they are giving their travel advisory, they never tell people not to go to the Southwest. That's the only zone that they don't want their people about traveling to. So I'm excited that he's back. And I know that Akeredolu is a decent person. If he wasn't sure that his health had improved, he would not have come home. After all, he transmitted power legally to his deputy. So for him to have come back, he must have felt that, look, I can get the job done. You know? So he's back. And all we can do is pray that God will strengthen him health-wise so that he can continue the good job that he started. Some places where they never thought they would see roads, Akeredolu has given them roads. And just as one of the guys that we spoke to said, he's a very strong voice in national politics. Remember the issue of power shift. Nobody put it on his head from this part of the country, from the southern part of the country, like Akeredolu. He kept pushing the political leaders from northern Nigeria that it was time to allow power to go to the south. In fact, it almost led to a fight between him and Governor Rufai at that time. So I'm happy he's back, and may God spare his life so that he can not just continue to be the good governor that he is, but he will continue to be a voice, a positive voice in our country.
All right. Now, the governor of Kwara State, North Central Nigeria, has done the unusual to achieve 100% gender balance in his cabinet. Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak has inaugurated members of the State Executive Council, with 50% of them women, making it the state with the highest number of female commissioners in the country. Also, the inauguration came with another first for the governor, as he swore in 2 persons living with disabilities as permanent secretaries. Let's share the story from TVC News' Ibrahim Alege with you.
As characteristic of his administration, the swearing-in ceremony was devoid of any flamboyancy. Like governor's first and second term inauguration ceremonies, the event was held inside the State Council chamber. The cabinet contains some 50% of each gender, boasting as of today the highest number of female commissioners in the country. The inauguration also came with another first for the governor as he swore in 2 persons living with disabilities, Abdullahi Kayode and Peter Anyewale, as permanent secretaries. Mr. Peter Anyewale, a blind man, was a vice principal at the Kwara State School for Special Needs before his appointment as a permanent secretary. He didn't know that he was going to reach the pinnacle of his career, especially because of his blindness.
Let me say up to Friday when the name was announced. So it is a surprising thing to me to mention my name as one of the permanent secretaries. When my friend called me, said, congratulations, I said, congratulations too. What happened? He said, are you not Peter Kayode Anyewale? I said, I am. And he said, you have been chosen as permanent secretary. I said, don't dribble me. Are you dreaming or what are you saying?
Mr. Abdullahi Kayode is on a wheelchair. Today is the permanent secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. This ramp has just been constructed to ease his movement to his new office. Unlike his counterpart, his appointments as a permanent secretary did not come as a surprise based on the body language of Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak towards people living with disabilities.
So, somebody that has done this, it will not come as a surprise again. And the facelift that is happening at School for Special Needs is based on his love for physically challenged people and his kindness and generosity to us. He is operating an all-inclusive administration. Whether you are physically challenged or not, you are considered if you are hardworking.
Apart from their schedules as permanent secretaries, the duo equally promised to champion the cause of people living with disabilities, especially in the areas of policy formulation and their rights and privileges.
I cannot leave them alone. Both, all the people living with disability, whatever be the category, be blind, be deaf, be physical. I am representing them and I'm to work for them.
He has shown it, he has demonstrated it, and I want to plead that he should continue showing the love, the kindness, the affection for which physically challenged, especially in the area of employment.
The governor expects them to join hands with him in making life better for the people.
As cabinet members and senior bureaucrats, you are to join the government and make life a lot better for the people through the design of and implementation of various policies and programs and exemplary conduct in public leadership.
For the physically challenged permanent secretaries, they have exemplified the popular saying that there is ability in disability, and their life stories are enough to serve as motivation for other physically challenged persons that when there is life, there is hope. Ibrahim Alige, TVC News, Ilorin.
A good one there by Governor of Kwara State, Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, a man I respect so much. Simple man, a man that has, we allow his achievement to speak for him more. And Babajide, this is unprecedented when you have half of your cabinet women and you don't have people that are physically challenged as members of your cabinet. This shows something that the governor is somebody that is in compliance to the agitation that world best practice.
Yes, and is setting the pace along that line. We want more women in government, and that's what this governor has been doing for some time. During his first term, we saw that he brought in, I think, the youngest commissioner in the country, a core member at that time, somebody serving her country at that time. And we saw that in Kaduna State, Governor Rufai similarly made a core member an advisor. So this governor has done so well. The cabinet has 9 males and 9 females. You can't have a much better balance. And only 3, I think only 4 of them are actually above 50 years. That's another first. We need young people, more and more young people to be brought into the into governance in our country. So only about 4 of them are actually above 50 years. Majority of them are less than 40, and 2 of them are actually around 28 years of age. What the governor has done is really, really significant. And the good thing also is that the women have also been given key positions in the administration, like finance, health, business, innovation and technology, tertiary education, communication, rural development, and of course, women affairs. You expect that they will take the women affairs portfolio. But look at the critical and strong ministries that he has also given to women, led by finance, for example. How many governors will make a woman finance commissioner? The 5 new permanent secretaries, 2 of them women and 3 of them men. You see, he has also balanced even PAMSEC positions. He has done gender balance in terms of PAMSEC positions, with 2 of the males being physically challenged. We want people living with disabilities to be brought more and more into government. I actually thought that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu would bring some of them to his administration, but I know these are early days. Abdullahi Kayode, for example, one of those PAMSEC, is actually confined to the wheelchair, while the other one is blind. But the fact that they are blind does not mean they cannot contribute to national development. So we've seen this governor give people of special needs the pride of place that they deserve by getting them to serve in this government. I think more state governors need to toe that line so that they will see clearly that Nigerians love them, despite the unfortunate situations that Nigerians wanted to contribute to nation building. So kudos to Governor AAA for what he has done. Wow.
Tatu, this is good, and a lot of people will tell you that this is novel.
Well, I would say first, let me hail him for having a compact cabinet. While others are getting excited and in some states creating new ministries, he has done well by not also increasing the cost of governance. It's a good one. On the issue of people with disability, I'm very passionate about that. And for me, I'm always somebody who has, over the years, been looking out and always preaching to people who are fond of just doling out peanuts to beggars by the roadside, that these people can be better than they are if we provide them the enabling environment. Yes, you even see some people who are as fit as you, but maybe something is just wrong with the hand, and you keep seeing them 10 years, 15 years on the road. Look at these two other people. They never allowed their disability to impede
you see some
their progress.
They don't have legs to walk and everything.
Yeah.
But they are selling handkerchief, they are selling recharge.
Doing all of this, yes, meaning that they want to make something out of their lives.
Just patronize.
Patronize me, exactly. You know? So, and they are doing well. They are doing well. There is always something I call people's attention to. And it's very easy to see that these people can be better than they are. Look at our performance at the Olympics every 4 years. Have you noticed that the Paralympics team, they bring in more medals?
Immediately after the Olympics, they bring in gold.
They keep bringing it in.
More medals.
So, and curiously, of all the associations, sports associations we have in this country, only the one that is the Disabled Sports Association has somebody with disability as chairman. No other one. And look at the wonders they are performing. Does it mean that countries like the US, the UK that do well in the normal Olympics don't have participate in those sports? It shows that we can build something. And that's why last year I really loved it when the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board said it was going to provide Braille CBT for the blind. It didn't work last year, but I'm praying that Professor Ishakulu will stay on and be able to achieve this, because we need all of this. When you look at the man appointed in Kwara, the report from TVC says the stairs through which he went in, was just constructed for him, meaning that there was no preparation for somebody with disability. So we need to have these people in mind. When we have them in mind and they see that the country is passionate about them, then we can then begin to push them in that direction. We have so many schools where they can attend, and they also will now say, okay, now there are opportunities for me. Let me begin to push.
Emeka, when you go abroad, you know, they prioritize them. Even their walking alley, their park space, even get on the train. You see, you know, you'll be in serious trouble if you sit down where they're meant to sit.
Oh, of course.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You know, the society shows them that they are loved and they want to be integrated into the society, and they don't look down on them. In fact, they treat them like, you know, first-class citizens.
Yes. I even visited a school for children with special needs in the U.S. I mean, somewhere in Texas, in 2001. Beautiful school. Oh, very beautiful school. You know, it shows that, yes, in developed countries, they have working policies for people with special needs. I shy away from calling such people disabled, because I align with the school of thought that say they are differently abled. So calling them disabled, I shy away from that. So definitely I'll hail the governor, because the disability law of 2017 says that every public institution must set aside 5% of the positions for those with special needs, those who are differently abled. And the governor now has done that, even though they are permanent secretaries. But, well, I hope in time to come, he will spread it to other areas. He will spread it to other areas. He will at least get at least one or two as a commissioner, because if you apply the 5% principle, that means about one person out of 18 differently, you know, abled as a commissioner. That would have met the requirements of the law. And then other things. I think I praise the governor for also recognizing the fact that in the country you have the women, for also taking care of the women, taking care of the youths, taking care of the, well, we're still hoping he will take care of differently abled in terms of appointments for commissioners.
So, bravo to Governor Abdurrahman Abdul Razak. Yes, moving on now. With each passing day, the economic costs of the menace of crude oil thefts stare us in the face. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, said the country lost about $40 billion, which is equivalent to 16.25 trillion naira to crude oil theft between 2009 to 2020. At the inauguration of the ad hoc committee to investigate crude oil theft and loss of revenue, the Speaker said the menace has hampered oil production, with the country losing between 5 to 30% of daily production. Dipo, this is not good enough. Well, because the people we are losing to, these people that are battling with government for production and everything, some of them you discover that there are people in government conniving with security agencies that are sabotaging our effort to maximize our crude oil exports.
Well, that's the unfortunate part of it. And for me, really, if you ask me, I'm tired of us reeling out this figure.
Figures, yes.
It's for me very embarrassing.
I agree.
It's not something we should be talking about, figures now. It's something we should be talking about having coped, because we know where the challenges are. We get a lot of dis and misinformation on these issues. But even if we go by this figure, I think it's quite shameful that in 11 years, we lost 16.25 trillion naira. That's an average of over 1.47 trillion every year. How much really is the budget of Nigeria for 1 year?
The figure that VAT has generated from January to December for Nigeria.
So it's a shame. And like I always say, if you get a figure like this from a government agency, or from, let's say, government itself, you should please multiply it by 10. Because what we get is usually not, it's even always inaccurate when it comes to issues like this. Because you don't even know what the reality is. You don't even know what the truth is. So what we should focus on is not all of this setting up ad hoc committees and all the rest. It should be serious solution to this menace. And for me, I appear excited about the coming of this government, especially with the appointment of the NSA, National Security Advisor, and people who are field soldiers who have been appointed as service chiefs, not people who sit back in the office, who don't know about operations. I'm excited about it. We need to get quickly over this. But at the same time, like we've said over and over on this program, the military cannot afford to keep failing Nigeria when it comes to this issue of crude oil theft. We've been let down a lot of times. Some of them have been convicted over crude oil theft. Generals are that. We need to quickly get over this. And like we said sometime ago, it's a shame that a company like Tantita Security Services, which is privately owned, can guard our pipelines far better than even the military is doing. That's the area we should be looking at. We should stop throwing out these figures. It can be annoying reading some of these things, because you can imagine what 16.25 trillion naira will do for a country like Nigeria.
But you can imagine, there are players now, those private security firms, and I was around the Niger Delta sometime last week. I went to the Baramatu Kingdom. I went on an excursion, and I discovered that these guys, they've been playing such a strategic role in collaboration with the Nigerian Navy. And since they've taken over this thing, the theft of crude oil has declined, reasonably. So what is this telling us?
You see, it's just telling us that we need to properly define our policies in that sector, there are still a lot of things that are not in place, You keep seeing Tantita, Tom Polo's company, and the Navy.
OMS.
You know, the Navy fighting over identified vessels used for crude oil theft. There's still another one. Some people were arrested by the Navy, but again, they've been cleared that they were on legitimate duty. There was the other one about, was it a Navy commander who was also, who resisted an attempt by Tantita to board a vessel. You see, we have come to a point where some of these things should no longer be. If there are people in the security services that are sabotaging the economy in that industry, they should be shown the way out. You see, we keep one major problem we have in Nigeria is that non-state actors compete effectively, actively with the government that ought to have monopoly of violence. You see, these non-state actors, they compete with the government, and they actually, in some cases, even drive the government away from the space that should belong to the government. And it's unacceptable. You now have the issue raised by the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, talking about those who are making money from security in the Niger Delta. He even mentioned one traditional ruler in Niger Delta, and that is a sticking point that might lead to violence. There has been this standard accusation that, it's militants that are behind it. But we remember Asari Dokubo came out when he went to the villa and met with President Tinubu. We heard the things he said. So if the people we're accusing, of being behind this crude oil theft are the ones coming out to say, no, the people who should deter such acts are the ones behind it, then I think the government needs to actually get in and deal with this issue once and for all. It's an embarrassment, and the nation is bleeding. Can you imagine 1.4 trillion, which is what were recorded as that from January to June? That is what is being stolen from oil every year. You say Nigeria should pay more tax, Nigeria should pay VAT, Nigeria should do this. But there's a sector that should actually, that we call the mainstay of the economy, bleeding from different points. Why should we keep doing this? It's unacceptable.
Babajide, now you look at the drive by the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu to make sure that they block these loopholes. I don't think crude oil theft will be entertained in this administration because of the revenue drive. The man needs money and is doing everything that he can do to block loopholes.
Yes, he needs money, and we are already seeing signs that revenue will improve in terms of taxation in Naira form. We are already improving. A lot of people may not know this, but this is a fact. We are improving. He is someone who wants to generate as much money as possible, and that's why he had to meet with Asari Dokubo and every stakeholder that he thinks knows something about the oil theft in the Niger Delta area. You can see that the armed forces have stepped up the destruction of illegal refineries. They've really done, the Air Force has used the Tucano bombers tremendously, because I was with the Chief of Air Staff, and I was happy to hear him talk about their operations in the Niger Delta area. The Tucano jets are involved in precision bombing of the illegal illegal refineries, and there are so many of them. So it's not a surprise that we are seeing an increase in even our oil output. We are producing more now. They are reducing the oil theft day by day. Is going down. The NNPCL CEO told us that they were even able to achieve 1.6 million barrels a day, which is still less than our production quota, because there was a time, I think around, there was a time we were doing 2.5 million barrels a day. That was around 2005. Then it went to it went down to 1.77 million barrels a day in the year 2020, and it continued to decline. Came down to 1.18, and then the budget projection is 1.69 million barrels a day. But there were months when we didn't do beyond 1 million barrels, 1.1, 1.08, which is less than 1.1 million. So that is why you see that even a war-torn country like Libya has overtaken us as Africa's second highest producer. It's terrible. In the past, Angola could not see our back as an oil producer. But today, Angola is Africa's Nigeria's number one producer. If we work harder at keeping these oil thieves away, because there are also one reason investors are reluctant to come into the sector. Some of the investors have actually even divested. They've left our country. And because they've left our country, there is no way that it will not affect our oil output, because you need time before you can bring in other people to fill the void that they have created. So the fact that our oil production has declined is not solely because of oil theft. The fact that big oil majors are leaving our country is also a factor. So it's not just because of oil theft. Some have left, and we need new major oil companies to come in and fill the void created by those who have left. We need to really take the securing of our oil facilities more seriously. I believe that we'll get there. I'm sure Tinubu has no choice. He wants an improvement in that area, and I know that he will keep working at ensuring that we make more money. But just as the speaker said, we are approaching a fiscal crisis, because we will not earn enough money if we fail to sort out this big problem. We won't earn enough money. Our currency will remain weak, and we won't be able to pay our bills as a nation. We won't be able to honor our obligations as a nation.
All right. The hunt is on for the killers of the police officer in Rivers State, South Nigeria. Governor Siminalayi Fabura has offered 100 million naira bounty to anyone who gives useful information for the arrest of one Gift David Okpolowu, otherwise known as Tubaba, suspected to have led the armed gang that killed a divisional police officer, DPO Bako Angbasim. The DPO, known for his exploits against criminals, was killed and beheaded by the suspected cultists on Friday. This kind of thing is so rampant now, and the number of policemen that are killed by bandits and these criminals on a daily basis is becoming worrisome. In other climes, you don't kill the policeman and you want to go scot-free. So the governor has just done something by making the bounty, the ransom, very attractive, so that they can fish out these despicable characters.
Yeah, I'm happy with the step that the governor took. I was actually very sad when I read these reports. Sometimes when some of these things happen, you don't even know how to react to them in terms of putting words together. I mean, I was wondering how they became so emboldened that they've been able to take over a community completely. Because according to what the governor said, the traditional ruler was involved.
Governor
is now
suspended.
suspended. And when you look at it, like it's always been said, there is no way criminals will abound in a community. I'm not talking of the whole state now, just a community that the locals will not know. And this was the tip-off on which the police worked. Let me commend the governor for his swift reaction. In fact, the statement with which he reacted to it, he personally signed it, showing the seriousness attached to this issue. This should be pursued relentlessly until something is done, until all those people are brought in, to show that the state will not allow non-state actors like this to get away with such serious crime. A whole DPO is superintendent of police. You can imagine how much Nigeria has invested in this man. And, you know, for him to have been singled out in that state as one of the finest officers will take a lot, because there are so many DPOs in that state.
Yes.
So many of them.
I think for some time, this particular one
has been singled. Yes. So meaning that they must actually have been looking out for him. That this is the man who is not allowing us to have a field day. Yeah, freely. So I think the governor and all the security agencies must work towards getting these people, hunting them down. And it won't just be enough for us to hear that they've been arrested. We want to seek justice. That's if they are arrested alive.
Rivers State is now unfortunately going back to what it used to be. We used to know Rivers State for violence, for cultism and everything. Right now, killing of a police DPO.
It has never stopped being like that. It's just that these things were, downplayed, because some parts of Rivers State, this violence has been there. Gang warfare,
cultism.
Some places, then political killings. Look at every election. When you talk about casualties during the election, Rivers State comes stops. So the violence has remained. And the sad thing is that these characters move about, they set up camps here and there. Again, back to non-state actors, being able to boldly, confidently challenge the states, which ought to have the monopoly of violence, and get away with it. Before you know what's happening, people will start talking of giving amnesty to such people, to such criminals who ought to face justice. You see, so what I would just like to say is that this matter should be treated as terrorism. It should not just be about, cultists, because you hear cultists, attacked the DP. No, these people are terrorists. To have gone to that extent of what they did to the man's body, after killing the man, did all those things. No, this is not just, this should be treated with every sense of security and every sense of seriousness. And I'm happy that the Inspector General of Police has said they will deal with it. They should dispatch a special squad to not just get the killers of this man, but to clean up all those camps, to wipe out all those camps, clear all these camps, wherever they may be. And the state politicians too, who are patrons of these violent characters, should be identified and dealt with. We should not just talk about those perpetrating the crime. What about those sponsoring them, giving them money to buy arms, giving them money, telling them to go and attack people? Why should these things be allowed to be? The heavy arm of the law must come down on them.
All right, I have Shuaibu on the line, our first caller from Mina in Niger State. Thank you for calling us. Yes, go ahead, please.
Actually, I don't want to make comment in regards to the topic we are discussing. I just want to use this opportunity to thank the present administration under the leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the policy he's implementing. In fact, he's getting it right. I also want to enjoin him to, they have virtually touched every aspect of agency in federal government. He has only forgotten to,
Go ahead, please, Shaibu.
Military pension board situated in Deuce Alaji, one village situated there. So they are supposed to be overhauled. They are long overdue. Supposed to check that place and then make, overhauling them. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Shaibu. Babajide, now, what is happening in Rivers State? And the governor has said, look, this is urgent and this is serious, with 100 million naira bounty put on the perpetrator of this.
It's particularly painful because this gallant officer was a big thorn in the flesh of criminals, kidnappers in that state. Ahoda West is notorious for kidnapping of people, including commuters. It's not just cultists they are reputed, and they are ill-reputed. The area is ill-reputed for the kidnapping of people. So he had led his men to bust those guys in their camps. It was on his way back that they were ambushed and he was injured. The police team ran out of ammunition and they had to retreat. But their boss was shot, injured. They radioed the army for assistance. But clearly the visibility was very poor and it didn't help the army to advance and probably rescue the injured police officer. And to make matters worse, these fellows decapitated the police officer after having shot him. I recall that on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve some years back, this sort of thing happened. They even beheaded some churchgoers and paraded their heads. But the leader of that gang that paraded the heads of people that they had beheaded on New Year's Eve was eventually exterminated. The importance of having a strong governor is that a strong governor will be decisive, will make his intention clear. Because at that time, when that guy took that decision, I remember that Wike, the governor, came out and said, whatever it takes, the fellows who carried out this attack and beheaded innocent churchgoers must be fetched out. And that was what happened. The army took out the leader of that gang, and some of his boys were also exterminated. So I am confident that those who killed the DPO Bako, they are going to pay for this. And because Rivers State is very rich in oil and other resources, criminals have literally laid ambush on the state. In different parts of the state, some difficult to access, they are operating, making money, and while terrorizing innocent Nigerians. So efforts must be made. I know that once you kill a policeman, no matter how long it takes, you are going to pay with your life. I know that. We've seen people slaughter policemen at the airport in Lagos many years back. Those policemen were escorting, I think, what's it called? This vehicle that they used to convey money, bullion van. And they shot and killed all of them who were in their station wagon 504. But in the end, the police arrested all of them, all of those who participated in that robbery and the killing of those policemen. So when you kill a policeman, especially someone of the stature of a DPO, of course you are going to pay with your life. It may take a while, but they will get those boys and they will really teach them an exemplary lesson.
Cultism now is something that is rampant. It used to be in our institution before now, and everything. Right now, you hear of organizer belonging to a cult group.
Is it just organizers? What about 12-year-olds, 14?
You know,
some of them
primary
school.
All over Mushin, Fadeyi, you know.
Some of them were paraded by the police here in Lagos, young boys. It's like we will say, in this part of the world, what is Osibajo Diayo? They have made something that you should be ashamed of. They have turned it into a thing of joy. You know, things that we never grew up with. I mean, the farthest you would have had then, which is even an open thing, is that you would have heard of the Rosicrucian order in our own days. But now, even in schools, openly, people are parading themselves to belong to the cult and threatening others. I think it's a shame. Yeah, Rivers can get better. And I think, but for this, you know, because we can't single out this event to say it's security situation is really getting worse. But for some of these once-in-a-while events, I think we should give it to Rivers State. It's much better.
All right. We'll be right back after this breather. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be back for the next part of the show.
Have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Politics is defined as getting what, where, when, and how. But in the mix, many things come to play to shape the political fortune of any country.
Honorable Minister, you inform the public.
From the political actors to the electorate, campaign to voting, from debates to policy decisions, big events happen to engage us in constant conversation.
That's what we're looking for. Not some people who are talking about ethnicity. No.
Who is on your mind?
Don't worry.
Join me every day on Politics Tonight, where we dissect issues that shape our political destiny. Politics Tonight, weekdays on TVC News.
Thank you for staying with us. It's the second half of Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Every Sunday, we bring to you 2 hours of in-depth and quality analysis about news of national importance around the country. I still have Dr. Oladipo with me. Emeka Madunagu is still in the studio, while the master himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, is sending in flanks from Maiduguri, that in Borno State. Now, more commendations are pouring in for the verdicts of the 2023 presidential election petition courts. The former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, has congratulated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima on their victory at the tribunal. In a statement on his Facebook page, Professor Osibajo described the tribunal's verdict as a great victory for Nigeria's constitutional democracy and the rule of law. Jide, tell me about this. After the election, we've not seen much of Professor Osibajo. He has been in and out of the country, and his support for his former boss was not too visible during the last election. But a lot of people would think that since the primary election, that they've not been able to, get along. But with this combination and everything, it shows that Professor Osibajo is actually a statesman.
Yes, the truth is, many people expected to find him, to see him on the rostrum campaigning with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu once it became clear that Tinubu was the standard bearer of the party in the presidential election. But Osibajo stayed away from those rallies, including even the ones held in the southwest, close to his door. So it must have been deliberate that he didn't show up at those campaigns. Being a Christian and a pastor in the Redeemed Church, of course, he must have felt that if they saw him at some of those rallies, that it will offend the sensibility, to anger some of the people who have been close to him for years, especially the pastors.
Okay, this is the Muslim ticket now?
Yes, because of the Muslim ticket. Many people close to Tinubu, especially those of them deep in the Christian faith, found it difficult to live with
like
that reality. Yes, Babachi Lawa was one of those who actually even spearheaded at the beginning the campaign, the effort to get Tinubu to contest. Babachi Lawal, Faleke, the man in Ekiti, former Minister of Works, Dayo Adeyeye.
Yes.
We cannot deny. We cannot deny that they were among the first set of people to push the Tinubu candidacy, to give confidence to his supporters and even to the man himself that, look, you can do it, you can win the election. At a time when not many Nigerians believed in the project, at a time when not many Nigerians believed that power will even shift to the south. 3 years before the election, I think, let me say, for modesty, let's say 2.5 years minimum before the election, people like Faleke, people like Adeyeye, and even Babashir have begun pushing. But the matter of the Muslim ticket got so many of them angry, and they felt it was insensitive on the part of Tinubu to go for Muslim ticket. But Tinubu was more concerned about how he would win the election. And as far as he was concerned,
winning is
he
everything.
Could not win. Yes, he could not win without going for Muslim ticket. And the same way that a lot of those pastors were angry and couldn't understand why that happened, I believe that the VP at the time was not really happy, because his base is still, he needed to galvanize his base a little bit. And if he went gung-ho supporting Asiwaju, he felt that it could affect him in a way. So he stayed away from those campaigns. And we only saw him on the day that Asiwaju was presented with his certificate of return. And then after that, he and a good number of his prominent supporters also refused to have anything to do with the president. They just literally kept to themselves. But now, with the victory at the tribunal, you can see him coming out to say this ruling is a great victory for Nigeria's constitutional democracy and its rule of law. The practice of democracy in our nation has been further strengthened by the fact that all parties faithfully followed the electoral process according to the law and relied on our courts in the event of a dispute. Our nation needs all of us to work together to address our challenges and to deliver the realization of the incredible potential of our nation. So he said, congratulations to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima, and our great party, the All Progressive Congress, on the judicial affirmation of the victory at the presidential election of February 25, 2023. So he has made it clear where he stood. There are a good number of his aides who have refused to be reconciled with the other groups within the APC because their principal lost the primary election. One of them was even on air recently saying that the INEC let Nigerians down by not following its own guidelines and all that. And only for him to come out and say, look, my views do not necessarily amount to the views of the vice president. And that's Laolu Akonde. Whatever Laolu Akonde said, you cannot say that's the opinion of the vice president. And what the former vice president has done now is to also clearly distance himself from Laolu Akonde's position. So it's a very good political move. He has tried to show that, look, I'm a party man. Whatever happens, I'm a party man. I may have lost the primaries, but I remain a member of the APC. He said that in that statement so that if anyone felt that he was going to join the Labour Party, he has made it clear now. He described the APC as a great party. So it's going nowhere. That's what it means.
Now, people like Senator Femi Ojudu at least can come out and take a chill pill and life goes on after the primary election. That primary election was so acrimonious that the former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, was even nowhere to be found throughout the electionary campaign. And it was so bitter, people like Emeka Wajuba, they were nowhere to be found during the main election. But now the election has been won and lost, and we've got into a phase of the tribunal. We're expecting the Supreme Court in the next 50-something days now to just make a confirmation of whatever, and life goes on.
Well, I think I will also still refer to the fact that Professor Osibajo told us during the campaign that one of the reasons he stayed away, I don't know whether a lot of people believe him or not, was that President Buhari told him to take care of governance. That while he gets involved, because we saw President Muhammad, then former President Muhammad Buhari, at most of the states.
That was the official explanation.
Yes, I mean,
Jide has just hit the nail by the head.
No, I'm saying let's even.
The vice president might have had his reservation for that Muslim.
I completely agree with him. I'm only saying let's even give it that to him. But now he has spoken on this. Because that's what politics is all about. When you do your politicking and elections are won and lost, the next thing is governance. And like we've said over and over, there is no idea that is positive now that you bring to the table that Nigeria does not need. We need viable ideas. And one of the reasons I'm even excited that he spoke is because he's a lawyer who is well grounded in the Constitution. I'm sure if he had seen loopholes in that judgment, I was going to read part of what BKO read now, but since he's read it, if he had seen loopholes in that judgment, perhaps he would have stayed cool.
He was said to have set up this team of lawyers for APC before the election.
Yes, he did.
Led by Professor Osibajo, remember?
Yes.
Before that election.
So, now he has spoken. It shows that, see, politicking is over. Now it's time to be good party men and statesmen. I was waiting for him to speak, and I'm still waiting for him to speak after the Supreme Court judgment. Whichever way the judgment goes, I'm still waiting for him to speak, because this is just the first leg. But I'm happy that, like I said, a lawyer who is grounded in the Constitution, that he carefully chose his words in presenting what the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal had done. So we are waiting for others to also leave the pre-election issues, to also leave them behind. And it's a big lesson for politicians. You don't fight blindly. What most of them did during the APC primaries was to fight blindly. And you know, like we still say in this our own part of the world, when you close your eyes to do anything in fit of anger, you will not know it's going to eat. It could even be to yourself. Because if you are holding something that can bounce back, and you just throw it in any direction. Some of them never
recovered from that defeat.
Yes, and it can come back to you. Most of them never did because they were
till the election.
The ambition was blind. It was a blind ambition. They weren't looking at ever losing, no possibility.
Yes, because
but in
some
politics,
of them were looking at the body language of Muhammadu Buhari.
Even if the body language was there, we had
most of them felt that. Yeah.
We had some of these conversations before the election. Especially I had it, especially with those who were in the Osibajo team. Only one of them was fair to that man. He told me, he said, I don't know what lies they are feeding to this man, but I was drafted from somewhere within the government circle. I can't but go there. And my opinion will not count. It's the politicians that were talking. So when they were spraying all they were spraying, he was just watching. Because this person I'm talking about has worked as a journalist at some point. And no, see, politicking is not about just word of mouth. It's about the groundwork you are able to do. Some were given undue power to people who had nothing on ground. And politics is about the grassroots. It's about how you're able to mobilize. It's about, you know, this is somebody you want to contest with and beat in the north, who has been Jagaban of Bogu for how long, who has had how many titles all over the country. And then somebody is waking up after 8 years in the presidency and saying, I want to run against this man. It's almost going to be impossible. Or is it a Rotimi Amici who wants to dislodge him? Some of these things, a lot of people saw coming, but they never saw it because they were blinded by ambition. And that was what happened.
Emeka, I won't ask you about what you feel about the outcome of that tribunal, but I will ask you about the vice president, the former vice president, actually coming out to, you know, congratulate Bola Tinubu and endorsing that judgment.
Yeah, well, let me just take it from the premise of what Dr. said, that politicking has ended and governance has started. Is there any time politics ends? No, it never ends. Throughout, because that's what democracy is all about. Even in making appointments, even in taking decisions, even in negotiating policies, politics is involved all the way because there are political considerations. Yes, the vice president, I congratulate him for, well, I applaud him for coming out clearly to say, to salute the parties that went to court for ventilating their disagreement with the outcome of the election through the legal process and in line with the Constitution. Of course, we must, in this part of the world, come to accept that the Constitution is supreme when we talk about issues around governance, around politics. And you see, vilifying people who decide to go to court, calling them sore losers, calling them all kinds of names, it doesn't show an attitude that we want democracy to grow. You must allow people to ventilate their constitutional rights. If people go to court, yes, allow them. Well, if the court rules and they are not okay with it, let them seek.
How about vilifying the judges after the court does not rule in your favor? Now you've decided to submit your jurisdiction to the court to say, look, we believe in the judiciary.
Yes.
But immediately after the judiciary ruled, since Wednesday, we've been getting barrage of insults for these judges.
From who?
Huh?
From who?
Nigerians.
I'm talking of the parties. Professor Osibajo talked about the parties. Look at his statement. He talked about the parties. So in this instant discussion, we're talking about the parties. You see, in every society, even in the US, even in Britain, everywhere, you definitely have people in different camps. There are those who will
denigrate our judiciary.
It's not about denigrating people. No, it's not about what is denigrating. Doesn't the Constitution give people freedom of speech? if you feel that your interest is hurt or your interest is abridged by people's comments, then go to court. But you see, you cannot.
If they don't rule in your favor, Uncle.
If they don't rule in whose favor? In my favor, am I the party? The point is that the two parties, Peter Obi and Atiku, they've gone to the Supreme Court. Haven't you also, you're talking about insults, haven't you also seen people insulting them for going to the Supreme Court? You see, the point is this. In all, we are helping our democracy to grow. In all, we're helping our democracy to grow. And I hope that I said it here before that.
What they call
you see, if democracy was not truncated in 1966, if it had been allowed to grow for like 20 years or so, we would have overcome some of these things. But these are still teething problems. And I believe that with time, we will be able to build institutions, strong institutions that will help our democracy to move along.
All right. Now, the 2033 Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal judgment is still generating widespread reactions. The Peter Obi Global Diaspora Support Network has rejected the judgment, describing it as an attempt to legitimize the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Jide, what do you make of this? By the time everybody was going to court, we all submitted to the jurisdiction of this court and said whatever the outcome will be, that will be what everybody will abide with. But since that ruling on Friday, I've been on Wednesday.
Ayo, let me tell you, we are a very interesting people. As far as some people are concerned, the judiciary is only right when the judgment is in their favor. Those saying that, it is to legitimize Tinubu's presidency. What is wrong in legitimizing the presidency of somebody who won the election? He won the election hands down. He won the election. Obi never said he won the election in his petition. Because if you won the election, you will have produced your alternative result sheet. You will have said, okay, in this place, in that place, they stole my votes. I scored so number of votes, but they gave it to the enemy, in inverted commas. That was what happened when Aregbesola defeated Oyinlola. They removed invalid votes and kept the valid votes. We've also seen it done in some of the cases that had just decided in the state, that was in the National Assembly petitions tribunals. So we didn't see that. The whole attempt was to get the man disqualified. Disqualified over money forfeited in the that read KO Tinubu. Disqualified on account of, his academic credentials and all that. Disqualified because it was alleged that his deputy was guilty of double registration. This was despite the fact the Supreme Court had ruled on the matter. The Supreme Court ruled on the matter on May 28, 2023. They still continue to push that particular narrative before the lower court. Have we seen a situation in which the apex court will decide on a matter and the lower court will want to give a separate decision? Once the final court decides on a matter, the lower court has to cite the precedents. The lower court can't do anything different. But Obi and Atiku continue to push the matter of Kashim Shettima not being properly nominated and all that before the tribunal. They wasted so much time on a matter that has been decided by the apex court. So who would have been surprised that those judges upbraided them and decided to not listen to them on that matter. If you went into an election in more than 170,000 polling centers, and you found it difficult to bring even 15 witnesses, you were only able to bring 13. Because what the court says is, look, you cannot bring a witness from a collation center. It has to be from the polling center itself. That is where things get done. Your agent at the polling center is the one who saw what happened.
Directly.
The court rules that if a collation officer, if you bring a collation officer of your party to come and talk about what transpired during the voting, that collation officer is a rumor monger because he didn't witness it. So there were mistakes that were made in the course of this trial by the two parties. And I'm sure that in future, they'll be able to learn from this, because the point about the final court is that you cannot cite fresh evidence. You can't be saying new things. It is what you presented before the tribunal that they are going to adjudicate over, to see whether the tribunal erred in law or the tribunal refused to grant you what it should have granted you. You can't bring new evidence. They are not going to entertain it. So the mistakes have been made. And I want to cite what happened in Osun. The matter of IREF was decided by the Supreme Court as well as the Appeal Court in Osun. So you will have known that this lower tribunal will not go against the decision that the judges of the Supreme Court made in respect of IREF, which is that INEC is not obligated to post results on IREF in real time. They decided on that. So those who jubilated over what transpired in Osun, where the PDP eventually defeated Oyetola, they are the ones who are complaining now because it didn't go in their favor. The APC people who are angry, who are calling judges names because of the decision of the judges in respect of IREF as it affected Osun, they are the ones who are happy now. So this is the way we are. I can't wait for the Supreme Court to decide on this matter. Thankfully, the dramas that we usually witness during trial, when they will carry journalists to go and play video in court, and all those cannot happen in Supreme Court. They would only invite the lawyers on the day that they will come and address the Supreme Court. And after the address, they will come up with their judgment. It's just 60 days. So, Supreme Court will not waste our time. They won't entertain Ngbati. They will go straight to look at the conclusions of the lower tribunal and then take their decision. The conclusion of the lower tribunal has been very detailed, very precise. In fact, they're very self-explanatory. For anybody who is not even a law student, once you read it, they wrote it in a manner that was self-explanatory. And in my view, that will really help the Supreme Court to reduce the work of the Supreme Court.
All right. And now, this Peter Obi Global Diaspora Support Network, they've rejected this judgment, and they feel that the judges did not do enough, that they weren't given fair hearing. Now, Mr. Peter Obi has decided to go to the Supreme Court.
Well, you know, I've said it here before. And just like what Emeka said, it's a democracy. Everybody can speak. And if we turn the table around also, the other party will speak. That is our nature. Once something does not favor us, we start talking about it. We don't look at the finer points. In fact, if you followed the proceedings of the courts throughout, you will see that at some point, one of the lawyers of the APC was trying to tell the chairman of that panel that instead of giving them all the details, all the bits by bits of how they arrived at their decision, if you just abridge it, the man said, no, you're not going to teach us our job. Let's say it here. That judgment was 798 pages. 798. So meaning that, see, we want to let you people know where you went wrong. That you cannot come before us with an allegation and not be able to prove that the person you are suing is not the one who is going to provide you with the ammunition with which to shoot. That's one thing I've always learned as somebody who has covered politics for so many years, that you may have a good case, but if the presentation before the court is wrong, that case will be thrown out, because the judges cannot help you to go and look for cases to cite to back your case up. You must be the one to be. Whatever you don't bring to the table, whatever you are thinking in your mind stays in your mind. They will never help you to do it. And that's what that's what most of the things that the judges pointed out, the justices pointed out, that's what they pointed to. That, see, you are claiming that you won in these areas, but we can't see the evidence. If you said you have won, then where are the alternative results? Can you give it to us? If you said you are presenting somebody who is a forensic analyst, who has done forensic analysis for you, what is the interest of that person? Have you gone to look for a specialist, somebody who is completely away from your own politics, who is not a member of your party, who is independent, who can give us an independent opinion? And I learned a lot from that judgment, because it's one of it. Because when when some of those people came to the court, I felt, this is it. It's like there is a point here. But when it was pointed out that, no, you can't be a judge in your own case. So, oh, that's true.
Be party member.
And come and say you have
evidence. And you contested.
And you know, so there are so many things involved. And I think going forward, we should not just be paying lawyers for the sake of it, especially because they carry the big title, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. We should be paying them based on experience. These things have happened before. Osun is a good case study, like BKO pointed out. I'm from that state. And when you look at some of the things that transpired in the past, you realize they are like this. Why did the higher court throw out what the tribunal came up with in the case of Oyetola and Adeleke? Simply because of those issues. They came with results and said, we won. And then the higher court said, you couldn't have. Because of this. You didn't bring this. You didn't prove this. It's proof. So instead of calling maybe 100 witnesses, you can call one and still win your case with strong evidence.
Emeka, it's like an Herculean task to actually win your case at this level for presidential election with 176,000 polling units in 180 days. You are meant to get, if you look going by the judgment, the number of evidence, the number of polling units of which you are meant to get, you can't get enough on set. You just have to cover a lot of ground within that lot of it.
In fact, you have just taken what I wanted to say out of my mouth. Because interestingly, that same day that the Court of Appeal ruled, the tribunal, National Assembly Tribunal in Kogi State, upheld the case of Natasha Akpoti. And look at it, it also had to do with proving her case that so and so happened. You understand? So and so happened on the same day. So yes, what you said is correct, but like I said, we need to deepen our democratic processes. Then don't forget the way the elections were, the way the tribunals ruled in 1999 is different from today. the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act is being improved. I hope we will get to the point where this issue of beavers will be settled once and for all. Because what the appeal court said in terms of the Oyetola case is different from what has been said now. But again, don't forget, also the same tribunal, presidential tribunal, upheld Peter Obi's said he was validly nominated. That was a big victory for him because the APC and his supporters had been singing and singing. And you know, this week also, tribunals will give their verdicts in governorship.
That particular Court of Appeal judgment made us to know that you are just an interloper by the time you are
going into other parties' issues.
Other people's
it's not your problem.
So that's not your business.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Peter Obi was validly nominated.
Because some people said everything but the other part was
directly. But don't forget that the APC had been singing that very
that's against them.
Not just only against Peter Obi, also in other states. In Abia State, they've been singing it. In some other states, even in senatorial cases.
If it's not in your party, if it doesn't affect you directly, that's what the court has said down.
But I think the issue of what role beavers should play, and whether we are going to still stay with manual collation or we are going to transit wholly to electronic transmission of results, real-time, it has to be decided once and for all, so that, you see, we can also reduce the time spent going to court. Because look at it, why do people go to court? It's because INEC, is believed not to have put up a performance that people can say, okay, well, we can say it's okay. And definitely, I don't think it's in all constituencies that people went to court, over the outcome of the election. So INEC also needs to clean up its own acts. INEC needs to make sure that, you see, it's the way it conducts elections, it's above board. Then, definitely you said it's difficult, trying to prove. Yes, well, but the point is that's why the courts are there. We continue to move forward. But the point is that, you see, the acrimony is not unexpected. I brought up the case of USA, Trump and his supporters, the Trumpsters. They're still very vehement. These things happen. But the point is, all in all, the interest of building the nation should be paramount. Let people be allowed to ventilate their disagreements with issues with the outcome of elections in a constitutional and lawful manner.
Because that's the point you need to make, that people must stay within what is right, what is reasonable. You cannot be poking your hands in my eyes and say that is constitutional. It's not. The point, the fact that you have a right to ventilate your opinion does not mean that a system in which we believe, the judiciary, should be rubbished. Because the moment we do that, then we are finishing this country. On INEC, I pity that body, and very seriously too. How many networks do you use in making your calls? Almost all of us have all the networks, because we know we have to run from one to the other. Except we are going to say, for the period of that election, INEC is going to bring something from heaven down to earth, that you can say that you are transiting from manual to electronic fully.
Okay, Jire,
you can't do it. It's going to be difficult.
It's also known as the court of policy. So they are ruling the judgment. We expect the Supreme Court to put this into perspective, and it becomes the law.
The law,
Yes, it will become the law, especially the matter of the ridiculous matter of Abuja being superior to other states, being a special state where people have two heads and 4 legs and all that. We talked about this, that it was ridiculous to bring this up, but they never listened. Now, the judgment has come. Abuja does not have a special status. And I think it's a happy day for us as a country that kind of judgment came, because it meant that Abuja can veto the 36 states put together.
That's
because you could actually win only Abuja and not win other states. And somebody could win 36 states and failed to win Abuja.
The lawyer dwelled on that
and
the Federal Capital Territory.
You now say because, yes, you then say because he didn't win the FCT, he cannot be president.
Unless he goes back to win it.
The Constitution never ever said that. It was a thorough misdirection and a thorough misapplication of the content of the Constitution. And I'm happy that that has been laid to rest. And I'm very confident that the Supreme Court, as the court of policy, will also make a consequential order in respect of Abuja, so that never again will anybody get up and tell us that because he's a senior lawyer, he's practiced for up to 40 years, Abuja has a special status. No, it was borderline ridiculous, and I know that it will not happen again. No state, no part of Nigeria is superior to any other part. Even in the US, there is no state that is superior to any other state. As big as California is, a lot of those Republican presidents didn't need to win California. They didn't need to win New York, and they became president. Despite 50 electoral college seats, they didn't need to win them. George W. Bush didn't need to win it, and he became president. His father too, because those are thorough democratic states. New York, California. How are you going to win those places? But at the end of the day, they still became president. That's the way it should be. No state should be able to stop a candidate from becoming president. If you can win and constitutionally you score your 25%, 24 states, you become president. So I'm happy that some of these issues are going to be decided finally by the Supreme Court.
All right. And finally today on the show, the total defeat of Boko Haram insurgency may be near, but has not yet happened. The show of Borno, Abubakar Ibn Umar Gabai, has urged Vice President Shettima to use his office to salvage 2 local government areas from the grip of remnant Boko Haram insurgents. TVC News' Jesse Tafida has more on the story.
The 13-year-old Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State has dealt ruthlessly with people and socio-economic activities of the state. Thousands have been killed and millions displaced due to the conflict. But as peace gradually returns, life is back to most parts of the state. Thanks to the government and military for helping out. This has resulted in not only people enjoying relative peace, but many insurgents surrendering to the military. But the state's paramount royal father is worried that remnants of insurgents remain active in 2 local council areas. He makes his case to Vice President Kashim Shettima when he paid him a courtesy visit at his palace.
I also urge on Your Excellency to ensure the restoration of some of our communities that were displaced by Boko Haram, especially the communities of Abalam and Guzamala. These people are seriously suffering. They need government assistance.
The VP is concerned about this. He assured that this will soon be a thing of the past as the Tinubu administration is poised to bring peace and good life to people of the country.
Your Royal Highness, all the issues raised will be adequately addressed. Honestly, Your Royal Highness, I have seen the soul of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Wallahi, 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 he has a clean soul. And he is determined to change the pace of this country.
With this commitment made by the federal government, residents of the state now have a sigh of relief that soon Borno State will reclaim its lost glory as the home of peace. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Those who should know, because all this while we felt that at least Borno State, totally liberated or at the verge of being liberated from the enclave, the clutch of Boko Haram. They're now saying the vice president now, please come and help us, the former governor of that place, that there's still some areas, 2 local governments particularly, under the stronghold of this terrorist.
Well, I'm happy that one of the fathers of the state, or even for me, I believe that the Shehu is the father of the state, has come out to tell us this. I'm happy on one side that he has said it, but on the other side, I'm also not happy that these people have gained a foothold in that place. So, now that we know, we can only keep appealing to the military that got us from about 19 local governments under Boko Haram to 2, to please perform the same magic that they did with the others, with these 2. Borno needs to be free. Because when we look at it, that state is strategic to Nigeria. It's a border. It's a gateway to other countries. It's also a major food-producing state. You can't run away from that, especially rice. So we need every part of that state to be free so that farmers can return to the farm. People can even walk freely. Some people are still in IDP camps. It's not everybody who has been moved out back to their communities. We need every area to be free. And that appeal goes to the military. They still have a lot to do, indeed.
Yeah, of course, without being told, the vice president should know that a scourge that has persisted for over 10 years must be dealt with immediate alarm. Yes, so that it doesn't morph into other things. Look at the Sahel region dealing with different kinds of terrorist groups, having to contend with so much Mali, Burkina Faso, even Niger, having to contend with these groups. So the earlier Boko Haram and ISWAP can be done, put in the dustbin of history, the better. Because it's also affecting food security. It's affecting a lot of people. A lot of people have been displaced. The state governor, Zulum, continues to give support to the people, keeps giving money and all of that. But the people need to get on with their lives. They cannot just, stay handouts from government. They need to go and work. They need to be peace. These people are farmers. These people are fishermen. These people are very industrious. So they need to get their lives back. And I think whatever can be done to make sure that Borno State, that those 2 local governments are finally liberated, and the people can return to their villages, to their communities in safety. It must be done. It should be top priority, so that people will have confidence that if they have such issues, government will step in and deal with them decisively.
Bikio, you're in Borno State. You want to give us a feel of what those people told the vice president and what's the situation like in those 2 local governments?
Yes, I was in the palace of the Shehu of Borno when he made that demand. I didn't see that coming. I know that Guzamala local government has been in the hands of Boko Haram for so long. There is not a single Nigerian soldier in that local government. Some time ago, Nigerian soldiers were attacked in that local government, and more than 100 of them were killed in one day. There's still an epitaph in honor of those soldiers with their names listed, And there was a time that former governor Ashim Shetima built a lodge, a big lodge in that local government. They set everything ablaze. After that, soldiers have not been deployed there at all. That is the hometown of the of the Speaker of the state, Abdul Karim Lawan. And it's painful to him that his local government
is still under
continues
siege.
to be in the hands of Boko Haram. The other local government I talked about, Abadan, with Malam Fatori as its headquarters, is a border town with Niger Republic. It was in Malam Fatori that the great tank commander, Abu Ali, was killed by Boko Haram. In 2016. In 2016, we have soldiers now. We've kept soldiers and a good number of main battle tanks in Malam Fatori. But the bulk of Malam Fatori, nearly every part of Malam Fatori, civilians can't stay in them because of these boys. Kukawa local government is one of the biggest local governments in Borno State. The local government headquarters, Boko Haram and the citizens have meshed together, making it even difficult for military operation to take place because those boys have been there for long and they are not prepared to leave. So it's not even two local governments where we have issues. There are places where it's only the local government quarters that is safe enough for people to live in. In other communities, the boys are roaming around, and if you are lucky, you step out, you could be killed. Look at Monguno, for example. Monguno is a border town with Chad, the extreme end of the state. It is only Monguno town where you find people living. If you stray carelessly out of Monguno town, we've seen IDPs because Monguno has hosts one of the biggest IDP camps in the state. We've seen IDPs who strayed out of the camp to fetch firewood, and they were slaughtered by Boko Haram. So this is a situation in which only one town in an entire local government is safe for habitation. I've said it before that Zulum town is a town in Buno local government. That's the hometown, the hometown of the governor. That's where his father comes from. Nobody has lived in the town since 2014. So we have made tremendous progress against Boko Haram. But I'm not the sort of person who come here and say that all is well. And what the Shehu said is just a reminder to us that, come on, despite all that we have done, we can't deny that the entire job has not been done. We praise the military for the sacrifice, for laying down their lives to keep every one of us safe. But we still have a job to do. I don't know when Uzamala will be freed from Boko Haram occupation, because leaving the town, leaving the local government to them, while their traditional rulers, their district heads, are all hiding in the state capital. It's not an ideal situation. We've got to find a way to put an end to the nonsense. The local government doesn't belong to them. So they have to be resisted, they have to be challenged. And you remember the former chief of defense staff was boasting that there is no local government that Boko Haram controls. And the speaker was angry. The Borno State speaker came out and said, come on, you don't have a single soldier in Guzamala. And you are here telling Nigerians that there's no local government that Boko Haram controls. Provide evidence that your troops are in Guzamala. So I think we've left Guzamala for too long in the hands of these guys. We've left most parts of Kukawa in their hands. We've left most parts of Abadan in their hands. And I think the time has come for us to show these guys who is the boss. We have to take the battle to them. Okay. This is the time to do it. We can't allow them to hibernate for too long in those places.
That will be the final stretch of that battle.
Yes, it will be. Now, because if those two local governments are in,
yes,
then we are done. But I think, like Vicky said, and like I said earlier, we should commend the military. This is not a normal, not a normal war. It's an
But Algeria defeated insurgency.
Algeria did, but nobody has done it totally, completely.
Of course.
You cannot.
It's
always there. The ideology is always there.
We must commend the Nigerian military. The sacrifices they made in this number of years that Boko Haram and ISWAP have ravaged the Northeast. Honestly, they deserve...
Thank God that it has not escalated more than this.
Yeah.
Because if you see the way these Islamic states they are funding this terrorist group, the Ragnar group,
but you see them, they moved to the North Central. And they also infiltrated some parts of the South. But the pushback from the Nigerian armed forces has really been commendable. And I hope, yes, victory will be attained one day.
Okay, and that's our package for today on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us for our regular episode of the program tomorrow by 5 p.m. I want to thank you, Dotun Oladipo. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oladipo. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Oladipo. And Emeka Madunago, thank you.
Thank you very much
for your intervention. And Jide, thank you all the way from Maiduguri in Borno State. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. On YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Osibajo. See you tomorrow by 5 p.m.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part,